man plans and God laughs, then we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. We're setting ourselves up for failure. We're creating false expectations. And in the minute situation where that outcome did turn out the way you want, okay, well, that outcome's going to last a whole 5 minutes, 5 hours, maybe a day, and you're going to have that feeling. And then there's going to be tomorrow. So why did you spend focusing the past year, 2, 3, 5 years just on that outcome, only for it to last a day?
Welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom, where we share pearls of wisdom shared by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, leaders, and difference makers. Here's your host, Govind Jayaraman.
Hi, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and this is Paper Napkin Wisdom, episode 323. Today, our guest is David Miller, an entrepreneur, a leader, a coach, and someone who has spent years in environments where composure matters. Reactions have consequences, and how you show up under pressure defines the outcome. As you listen to this conversation, you might notice yourself thinking about moments in your own life and leadership where things didn't go as planned, where a comment, a decision, or a situation tested your patience, and where the real challenge wasn't what happened, but how you responded. David brings a perspective shared and shaped by experience, not theory. He's seen what happens when emotions drive decisions and what becomes possible when clarity, restraint, and intention take the lead instead. This episode isn't about avoiding hard conversations or lowering standards. It's about the kind of leadership that stays centered when things get uncomfortable, and the quiet strength that earns trust over time. So, as we begin, listen to what resonates. You might find that one idea or story or one moment runs and lands differently than expected. And it might point you towards a response that you've been meaning to choose all along. Let's listen in. David Miller, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to have you here today.
Govind, thanks for inviting me on. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so you got some cool stuff behind you. You got some, you got a football and a basketball. You're a sports guy. That sounds pretty cool. It looks like cool stuff.
Yeah. And a cuckoo clock, if you didn't just hear that. So
That's
at 12 o'clock, it's going to go about ring about 12 times. So hopefully we can work through that. But yeah, I got like kind of eclectic things here and there. Sports is part of it too.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. And I love the cuckoo clock. That's fantastic. You also shared a great paper napkin with me, and it's different. And I really want to dig in to what it means. You said, "Turn the other cheek, smile, and have a little happy face, and mean it." Why did you share that with me?
Oh gosh, I thought that's a great question. And I feel like we face situations and life continually throws the same situation at us in different ways until we learn to embrace it. And a lot of times those difficult situations can feel like you're getting smacked in the face. And actually I piggybacked a little bit, at least when I was doing some research on your podcast, which is amazing, off what someone else said. It was episode 310, I think. And the gentleman said, we make up stories to explain the world, and believing them shapes our reality. So whenever I wrote that down, turn the other cheek, smile, and mean it, it's exactly that what one of your prior guests said, Govind. Do you want to look at the Old Testament and say an eye for an eye? Or do you want to look at the New Testament in Matthew, not Exodus, and say, turn the other cheek? It's really, it's not good or bad. It's how do you want to approach the situation and how do you want to learn from it? I choose to subscribe to turning the other cheek in almost every situation.
That's great. Actually, 310 was a solo cast. It's one of mine. And the premise is make-believe, right? We make a story and then believe it. And And it's neat that resonated with you, because I really see that in what you're saying, because you're allowing yourself to, even in thinking about Old Testament versus New, you're picking the story and then going with it. So turning the other cheek, smiling and meaning it, to me also means incorporating what's happened as opposed to distancing yourself from what's happened. And I think that's another part of what you're trying to say here, right? Like, isn't it really important as leaders that we don't just push away these hard things that happen to us? We incorporate them in what we do. And we can't do that if we're pushing them away, if we're punching back at it. We have to incorporate it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So how did you learn that? Where did that come about? I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur. You've been doing business for a while. Did you always have that philosophy, or is it something that you learned along the way?
I would say it's a combination of both. It was, what was instilled in me at a young age. It was failures along the way. It was learnings. If I have to say, hey, what was, the straw or the straws that broke the camel's back that really kind of sunk it in, it was whenever I was in MIT Entrepreneurial Master's Program, where Dr. Shrikkamor Rao was talking, and he told me this story, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, and I'll do the shortened version, but it comes down to there was an old man who owned a horse, and the horse ran away, and the townsman came and said, "Oh, this is horrible. This is horrible." And then they say, "Well, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know." That's what the old man says. And then the horse comes back, and he brings, 10 wild stallions with him. And now he's got 11. And the townspeople say, "Oh, you're so fortunate. You're so fortunate." And the man's like, same thing. It's a good thing. It's a bad thing. I don't know. And then one of the horses kicks his boys and breaks his leg. And then, now the townsmen think it's bad. And then they call people for war, and he doesn't go. And the townsmen say, "Your son's so lucky." It's kind of a whole repeat. So it's like, with these emotional bursts and situations, when they happen, like, how can you internalize that, accept it as a gift coming to you from the universe that you can learn from, and not label it as good, not label it as bad, just say it is what it is, and I'm feeling what I'm feeling because that's what I'm supposed to feel. And of course, acting on that emotion is something totally different, right? Yeah. So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I have no idea.
But it's a thing, and
Yeah.
and you have to look at it for the thing that is there, right? Because if you don't look at it, then that's the opportunity lost. The opportunity lost is not being present. So you said that whether you got it. Either it was partially instilled upon you, and then maybe you applied it and learned it as you went along. Let's talk about that. What is your journey? What's your business story? How did you get it instilled, and then how did you get a chance to apply it in your work?
Gosh, I mean, I would say going through what I labeled as bad in my head, and going through that suffering because I chose to label it as bad, with partnerships that have been strugglesome in the past in business, with relationships that have broken in my life in the past, with emotional and health crises that I've experienced. It's a culmination of the spiritual, the mental, and the physical, quote, failures that I've labeled as bad. And I'm happy to go into any of those situations that ring your curiosity, Govan. But what I've found through going through those and quote, failing, is that if you don't label it as bad, you bypass the suffering. And
That's really powerful. That's really powerful. That's really powerful, right, David? Because if you if you choose a different label, it changes how we experience it. So let's go into an example. Let's talk about how you took a bad business experience, quote unquote bad business experience, and changed the label. What did that look like?
So I, gosh, so many of them.
Pick the first one that comes into your mind.
So I speak to CEOs across the world, CEO organizations. Most recently, I was in Guatemala a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I talk about the $10 million mistake that I had. And, I trusted a hedge fund trader to run a fund for my financial conglomerate that I had built over 15 years. In a matter of seconds, he lost millions of dollars because he traded against the strategy. Long story short, I went through a 5-year battle with the Securities and Exchange Commission, accepted a bar because I did not follow compliance procedures. I was a poor leader. And, I was like, why is this happening? This is horrible. I had to separate from my ego, from the shame of everybody, in the financial industry, because I chose to accept a bar. It went through it. It was a very, very long process. And I thought it was happening to me, right? Not that it was happening for me. And, once I got through on the other side and several years passed, it's like that enabled me to move into a completely different industry. That enabled me to scale another company to 8 figures plus in 2.5 years. That enabled me to exit that company. And now I get to work with entrepreneurs and educate them on how they can avoid labeling situations as bad, teaching them how to trust. I know that's kind of a very condensed version of a lot of stuff, but labeling something as a failure, as big or small as it may feel and seem, has enabled me to see it's not a failure, unless you quit or choose to, take the insanity definition, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And it makes a lot of sense that you reframed early on in that experience from this is happening to you to happening for you, and the opportunities that come into that. And I think that it's really easy. It would have been very easy in your story to have said, I built this business for 15 years. And this guy came in and did this to me. I'm mad at them. I'm going to carry this axe and I'm going to grind it over and over and over and over again with this person. And I'm going to hold them accountable for what they did to me. But you did something different. And because you did something different, because you decided that it happened for you, you rebuilt bigger in 2 years.
Yeah. And so just maybe a semantics a little bit, I actually never blamed that person. I
said you could have.
Exactly. I took responsibility for it, but I was still like, why is the world doing this to me? Right. As opposed to why is the world doing this for me? So we're on the same plane here. Just wanted to make that clarifying point.
Thanks, David. But it's really powerful that you held responsibility for that. And when you did, you grew, right? You grew because you took responsibility. If we take responsibility, if we understand this is happening for us, we have a shot at incorporating the learning. I mean, not to say it's a guarantee, but it's a better shot than saying that happened to me. I'm a victim. I'm over here in the corner letting all this stuff beat me up. I'm going to be over there, right? You're actually going out there to do something with it. And that's powerful. And it opened a new door for you and several new doors for you. That's incredible. And one of the things you also said earlier on is that, life has this way of throwing us the same situation in different ways. And when you shared your story, you talked about the business stuff. And then when I asked you about the business stuff, well, there's so many. But you talked about business, that people could choose to label as bad, relationships or partnerships. So let's give people another lens of another opportunity. Give me another example that involved maybe a relationship with somebody or a partnership with somebody that didn't work out in a different way.
Partnership like in personal life or partnership in like business?
You pick either one. It's you've got the wheel.
So that first situation I described was a very emotionally turbulent and strugglesome situation as I experienced it, and that unfortunately led to my ex-wife's and I's relationship ending, and so she filed for divorce because like the emotional damage that was done during that process was more than most anyone could handle, and I completely understand why she did it. I went off my rocker several times and trying to manage the situation, and she got the brunt of it. But so long story short, she filed, and then 3 months later, find out my mom is got 2 weeks to live, and for lack of better words, a little bit longer than that. So I'm going through divorce with a marriage of 17 years with a woman that I love. My mother is passing, and I'm just like, okay, I know this is happening for a good reason, but this does not feel good.
Right.
And again, like, I don't want to label things as good or bad. I work on that every day. But this feels intense, I should say. Like, I know I'm going to come out on the other side. But like, it kind of feels like this situation is happening to me, not for me.
It's deeply emotional, right? Like let's also say the intensity of the emotion, the intensity of the negative emotion that you're the stuff is happening with the Security Exchange Committee. You're letting that happen for you on that side, and then on the other side, your marriage of 17 years is ending, and you're losing your mother. This is a lot. That's a lot of negative emotion, regardless, and you were feeling it. I think that's an honest and real way of realizing it. And yet it sounds like even in that moment, you were hunting for what was happening for you, or did that come later?
It took a while. I kind of saw the writing on the wall, but it continues to strengthen and materialize. And it was all about my presence and my self-awareness while understood it cognitively and theoretically, philosophically, actually having presence with my 3 boys and my 24-year-old adopted cousin. That was the silver lining and everything. So yes, I was the Cub Scout leader, the basketball coach, went to the sports and dance competitions and all of that. But I wasn't really present, Govan. Like, I was there because I knew in my back of my mind, hey, I need to go through the process. But now, like, whether it's the weekly allowance I've been having with my boys for the past 10 plus years on Sundays, or whether it was, my son's high school basketball game last night, like, the presence that I have there and just enjoying the moment has just changed the amount of responsibility I'm able to take on, but also counterintuitively has reduced the level of stress that I have, because I am present in the moment and I'm not trying to, think about what's the next thing down the road every waking moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really powerful. It reminds me of about 7 years ago, my youngest was effectively on death's door. He had bacterial meningitis, and anybody who's familiar with that, and your eyebrows tell me that you're familiar with the idea. It was a horrible time for the family. We literally spent about a month thinking that he was going to be gone at any moment. I remember sitting in my office chair where I could see his bedroom door from my office when the doors open, and I would think, am I ever going to see him walk down those stairs again? And And in that moment, I resolved that I was not going to be absent. I was away every week up until that time, um, usually only for a day. Like one night was my maximum, but the day that I lost my super elite status with the airlines was a great day because it meant I was here and I was present. And you're smiling because I think you know what I'm talking about. That's a knowing smile, David. You know what I'm talking about. There 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 is no person happier about losing their elite status with an airline than someone who wants to be with his family. And um, I know that, and I can see that in your face. How did that change your relationship with the boys? And with your sorry, you said adopted cousin. I'd love to hear more about that relationship too.
Yeah. How did it change my relationship with my boys? Um, we go through our family core values that we created years and years ago. They know them by rote. So I ingrained that in them at a young age. And my 16-year-old, I guess we started when he was around 5 or 6. Now that that's ingrained in him and his younger brother, the 14-year-old brother, and my 10-year-old son too, but the 15 and 14-year-old, 16 and 14-year-old, so they're teenagers now, finding their manhood. They're separating from their dad. They need to find their independence. And part of that is challenging what they know, and going through things their own way and failing. So whenever we're having conversations now and they're relating it to their behaviors and I'm relating it to their behaviors and their actions, they can process, hey, this isn't in alignment with what I believe. Why am I doing this? Okay, I did this right. This is why I did this. I did this wrong. Now I know my intentions were good, but now I know to take corrective behavior. So it's kind of like an evolving process when it comes to them. Does that make sense, or did I go down too far down a rabbit hole for you, Govin?
No. I think that what you shared, and I just want to paraphrase and make sure that I've got you right, that as they are iterating, as they're going through this, it's almost like the philosophy of smiling and meaning it, like taking the experience and absorbing it from the position of what this is happening for me, smiling and meaning accepting it allows them to be in the present tense about what they did to impact their outcomes and how they can impact a better outcome for themselves by being more present, by being more themselves, by bringing more of themselves to a situation, as opposed to not acting in a manner that's consistent with who they are. Right? They're learning the value of becoming who they really are, and you're doing that by supporting them through that process. And I think that's a really powerful thing. Did I misunderstand that?
Nope. Spot on. Yep. Spot on.
So if that's how you're doing it in your family life, and I think that's powerful, and I don't want to run away from that because I think that's really it's significant. How does the idea of are your kids still open to hearing the lesson about turning the other cheek and smiling and meaning it? Is that something that they are able to hear as a 14 and 6-year-old? Because, I think about my boys. My eldest is 19, my daughter is 17, and my youngest is 15 right now. And the three of them are fiercely independent and they have their own ways. But we have this role of influence in them, and I see that you take that very seriously. By being detached, you don't mean by they're detaching from you, but you're not detached from them, right?
Correct. Yep, that's right.
Right. So I want to run something by you, something that I heard a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if you've seen this video, but Steve Harvey's in a circle with other men. And you're smiling because I think you've seen this.
No, I haven't. I was just intrigued by what you're about to say.
So Steve Harvey gets very emotional when he talks about the passing of his father. And he says, your father is the only person in the world who wants you to be better than him, wants you to be better than him, and is cheering you on to be better and will help you get better than him. And your father is the only person in the world. And when his father passed away, and he gets emotional when he says this. He said, I lost that guy. Other people want you to be really successful. They can love you. They can want the best for you, but they don't want you to be better than him. And my father used to call me all the time and say, I'm proud of you. How does that land with you? I mean, in the terms of what does that story mean to you? Does that resonate with you? What do you think about that in terms of your relationship with your kids?
So I didn't know Steve Harvey said that. I heard that years ago, and I used that exact phrase with my boys in situations that are very tough for them. When I'm delivering a hard message, a stern message, obviously empathy is involved. But if I'm delivering a hard and stern message, then following that up whenever they're clearly struggling and confused and don't understand it, and they may think that, oh, dad's doing this because he wants us to be this way. I'd take a step back and say, guys, remember, like, I'm the only person in this world that wants you to be better than me, right? It's like my goal, one of my greatest goals in life is for all three of you to be stronger and more accomplished man than I am. So I'm saying this not because it's fun to have the conversation, but I'm saying it because I want you to be stronger than me.
That's amazing.
So I felt like you were maybe punking me when you said that about Steve Harvey, because I didn't know what you were going to say, but I definitely use it all the time.
That's amazing. That's great. So one of the things that we've been reframing in our house is this idea, instead of having a challenging conversation or a hard conversation, we've been using the words powerful conversation. And it sounds like you have powerful conversations with your kids. And again, you're lighting up when we're talking about this. And I can see how important family is to you. So what helps you, and what in your experience helps you maintain powerful conversations with your kids and your family amidst, look, you're an entrepreneur, you're leading a business, and businesses, you've done a lot, you've been through ups and downs, and yet it really feels like I'm getting the sense that the family is the centerpiece of your focus. So in that mind, what keeps those powerful conversations front and center with your family, with your boys?
I think that's a great question, Govin. For me, it's evolving over the years and really having a clearer sense of what is my life purpose. And whenever you look at someone's legacy and you listen to people's responses about what do you want your legacy to be? No, we're not significant. And I mean that in a positive way. Like, look at humanity. Maybe people remember Elon Musk 100 years from now. Maybe they'll know who he is 200 years from now. But you ask people today, I would say 99.9% of the world knows who Elon Musk is, right? So leaving a legacy for me is, not it. But before I thought that, if I became a billionaire by the age of 40, then I could make an impact in the world, a larger impact in the world. Not to discount money and the energy that money has and how you can impact that way, but I've reframed what I want my legacy to be, and it's not tied to money at all. Yes, money helps. That's part of the equation. But when I look at what I want to pass on, it's the teachings, the positive energy, the connection that we have, that I have with my three boys. And that will enable them to do the same thing. One, to break that generational trauma, that generational curse transfer, whatever you want to call it, that's present in every individual. And I know that while I'm not going to have, gratification for it. I'm not going to get props on Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever. But I know if I focus on making my boys stronger men and instilling values in them, that is something that's going to last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. And the people 300 years from now in my family may not even know that I was the one that broke the generational trauma and passed the buck in a new way. But I know that I will be able to do that just by making decisions and actions today.
Yeah, I think that's really there's two things that are really important here. Thing number one is, and I think I used to do this too, I'll make the money and then I can make the impact. And that was the story I told myself. And because I made that my story, I believed it to be true. That was my make believe.
Yeah.
And when I changed my story to be, no, I can lift where I stand right now. There's nothing stopping me from making a difference here, now, with the people I'm with, whoever that happens to be. Right? And then the world changed around me. When we change the way we look at the world we look at changes. And it really sounds like you've changed your lens to focus on making the impact. Everything else will take care of itself. But being present's a really big part of that, right?
Yeah. Presence is the biggest piece with that.
Right. So you're focused on what you want, but you're really aligned in the present and you're acting all in. You're all in on this without an expectation of an outcome, but just being there for the action, being there to pour all of yourself into the boys and pour all of yourself into the relationships you have. How do you translate that to leadership? Do you bring that same presence to you in the work you do too?
Well, you kind of answered it yourself just with what you were saying, Govind, is, it comes down to the expectation and the outcome. If you're present, if you're focused on doing good, you have a clear understanding of what's meaningful and what you're driving towards. There comes the cuckoo clock.
I love it.
Wait for about 5 seconds.
Hey, you know what? We're not going to conflate meaning, but this is not a cuckoo idea. This is a great idea. The clock is just announcing the significance of what you're about to say, David.
Yeah, there we go. So, having being present in the moment, having that core belief in the direction that you're going is the right direction, whether it's with business, whether it's personally spiritual, whether it's with family. It's, yes, you want to have a goal. Yes, you want to know, what could be down the road and plan for any minefields that might be there. But setting the focus on the outcome creates an expectation. And when we clearly don't know what's going to happen, man plans and God laughs, then we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. We're setting ourselves up for failure. We're creating false expectations. And in the minute situation where that outcome did turn out the way you want, okay, well, that outcome's going to last a whole 5 minutes, 5 hours, maybe a day, and you're going to have that feeling. And then there's going to be tomorrow. So why did you spend focusing the past year, 2, 3, 5 years just on that outcome, only for it to last a day? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And
one of the talk, or is that actually coherent?
Yeah, no, that was very coherent. And really, what you're saying is, when we're focused on an expectation, it's temporary. And one of the things that I regale against, and when I'm working with people, I always say, "Hey, I don't care about your expectations. What's your intention for this moment? Your intention's active and present. When you're active and present, things can happen for you. They don't happen to you because you're here, you're now, you're in your body, you're curious about what's happening around you, you're present in the moment, and all options are available. If you're expecting something, you're just waiting for something happening to you, and you're not participating in the moment right now. So let's grade ourselves on our intention and how well we executed against our intention for presence, right? For providing a structure that we can all participate in and contribute to.
Yeah, and the intention is great, to play devil's advocate and then put a positive connotation on it. It's like the road to hell was paved with good intentions. So, but everybody has good intentions. So, but that is the beginning piece. Knowing that other people have good intentions, knowing that you have good intentions, it's how are you going to align your actions and how are you going to align your behavior and how are you going to align others that you're associating yourself with those behaviors that you're doing. So, we can, get, a quote, an outcome that we're not setting expectations around.
Right. But if we act all in and release the outcome, eventually it catches up.
Yeah.
Right? If we're simply making an exchange and watching for that outcome, it runs away from us. And I think that's why your intention-based napkin is so powerful, right? Turn the other cheek, smile, and mean it. Like, accept it, take it, receive it. It's a gift. Receive the gift. But you have to be open to it, don't you?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, if you get smacked in the face, how easy is it to cast a stone at the other person or point at them or shame them or blame them? Or how easy is it just to avoid it and walk away and feel like a victim? There's so many different ways that you can take that. But who actually gets smacked in the face? Like maybe not that moment, they don't feel it. Maybe let some of the anger or fear or whatever's going through you pass. But how many people actually say, you know what? I theoretically just got smacked in the face, and this is a really good thing. Don't know why, or maybe I do, but I don't know. I don't really exactly know why, but I know it's a good thing because the world happens for me, and it's an opportunity to learn. One of the things that I love about Elon Musk's $1 trillion compensation package is that. And people spin it a lot of different ways. Oh, he's greedy. Oh, he's awesome. He needs. d- d- if you listen to him as to why he wanted, and for lack of better words, demanded that $1 trillion compensation package, was so he could protect the greater good. People are like, oh yeah, well, you can protect the greater good with $1 trillion. Who wouldn't do that? No, yeah. If you look at the situation, first of all, Tesla has to achieve, an $8.5 trillion market cap and a lot of other contingencies for him to get that. But in the past, as there have been situations where, activists have tried influencing his departure from Tesla. And he said, you know what? If I don't have at least 25% voting shares, I'm not going to have some activists kick me out of my company when I've done everything right. And then this is the sticking point for him. And now I have robots that we've created tens of millions of robots for this in this world, have them take control of it and influence the ethical pieces of what are essential for, artificial intelligence and robots.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went down a rabbit hole there, but that's something that's happened just here over the past couple of weeks where I love it when it comes down to capitalism and intentions and doing good for humanity, et cetera.
Yeah. I think there's a lot there. And that is another entire napkin, which we can talk about another time. David, we're at the time of the show where we evoke some gratitude. So thank you for being on the show. But this comes back from a napkin that I got from a great friend of the show. His name was John Rulin. He gave us a napkin. It was what you appreciate appreciates. And his vision was that when you appreciate somebody, when you appreciate something, it appreciates in value, not just for you, but for the world. And he suddenly passed away a year ago. And ever since then, we have been paying forward his movement of gratitude and appreciation by asking every guest to shout out somebody that they would like to appreciate. Who would you like to appreciate and shout out today?
I'd like to give a shout out to my dad, Kenneth Miller. We are polar opposites. We've always had a great relationship, but we always butt heads, in a very civil way. We're just two completely different people. And, over the past year and a half with my mom passing, with my divorce, I have been living with him, out of being, quote, forced into it, out of choice, whatever you want to call it. But, we've really had to learn how to live together, knowing this happened for a good reason. And I'm so grateful for learning more about my father now that he's, I'm going to get this wrong, 74 this Christmas. I've learned more about him over the past year than I have my entire life. And I'm so grateful for learning about the man who wants me to be a stronger man than him in a way that I never thought I'd be able to.
Oh, that's powerful. And what a gift. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Govin. I appreciate you.
That was David Miller, and what a grounded reminder he brought us today. That true strength is revealed not in reaction, but in response. And as you sit with that idea, you may already be noticing moments in your life, your leadership, or your business where this wisdom has been quietly been waiting for you. Moments where reacting felt automatic. Moments where restraint could have changed the tone of the entire room. Moments where choosing composure might have protected something that mattered. David showed us that turning down the volume doesn't mean turning away. It means staying centered. And when leaders can hold their own ground internally, even when under pressure, trust grows, clarity sharpens, and relationships remain intact. Here are a few takeaways from today's conversation. Number one, emotional control is a leadership advantage. Not every situation requires a counter reaction. Composure communicates confidence and authority. What you release internally shapes how others experience you. And long-term respect is built through intentional responses. As you reflect on what stood out to you, you might begin noticing which parts of David's napkin are speaking to you right now. Is it the pause you didn't take? Is it the moment you choose calm instead of control? Is it the realization that strength can show up quietly? Wherever you land, take a moment and share your insight on a napkin. Yeah, a real one. Snap a photo and share it with the world using the hashtag #PaperNapkinWisdom, because someone out there might need the reminder you just discovered. And if you haven't yet, take this moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who leads under pressure or someone who needs to learn this message. You never know, your share might be the pause they've been needing. Remember, small wisdom written down simply can change how we show up, and sometimes the strongest move is choosing how to respond. Make it a great day.